Hello and welcome to All the Games, the channel about all the games. My name is Tim Alberg, and today we're coming at you with a 5e campaign diary. Now, the adventure that we were working through was Hoard of the Dragon Queen, the very first book put out for the 5e system. And to give you a little bit of insight as to what did our group look like, we had a Kenku Shadow Monk, we had a Tabaxi Warlock, we have a half-elf Paladin, we have a halfling Bard, because of course we have a halfling Bard. They get to re-roll all the ones. Why wouldn't we have a halfling Bard? And we had myself, an Elven Mystic. Now, Mystic is an unofficial class for the 5e system, but my DM was nice enough to let me use it. So, a little bit more background as to some of the hilarity that my group keeps finding ourselves in. So first things first, we are a bunch of munchkins. We try not to be, but we are. So we're always searching every single little bit and corner, and to try to deter us from this, our DM put in an appropriate number of traps, which we didn't really start catching on to until about 5th level. This is about a 3rd level story, just so you know. But the Kenku monk decided he wanted to pick the lock on this treasure chest that he had found when he was alone. First of all, never open the treasure chest alone. That's a bad idea. Second, through a series of good rolls, he was able to pick this lock, pop the chest open, and what comes out? A giant centipede. Now, a Kenku is a bird person. A centipede is kind of like a giant worm. So, bird versus worm, he used his beak and he ate it, and the encounter ended very quickly with a round of laughs. Next, the Tabaxi ran into a swarm of rats. Tabaxi is a cat person. Cat versus mouse, pop out the claws, eat him as candy, stuff the rest in the pockets. Again, hilarity ensues. So we are working our way into an area called the Dragon Hatchery. Now again, this is an official story. There may or may not be some spoilers. It's primarily spoiler free. We used the book as a framework and just kind of went on our own direction from there. We had a penchant for breaking the campaign for our DM and causing him many nights of lack of sleep and headaches. But we went into the Dragon Hatchery, and through a series of very, very good investigation rolls, I started seeing that there were traps at the bottom of each set of stairs. So we would work our way around them just fine. And as we were working our way, we started to do our thing and look in each and every little corner. And me, having a very high perception ability, would just keep rolling. My dice were on fire, and we started to find this back way through this Dragon Hatchery. Now, the DM was expecting us to go around in one way, and we found this shortcut, or so we thought, to get to our end goal. Little did we know, we actually circumvented a good portion of this dungeon. We worked our way around and missed a group of buildings and a group of rooms that each had a set of guards in them. Guards that we could have defeated along the way, but we didn't. So we think we're riding high, we all have full HP or near to, and we find this rope ladder going up through a trapdoor. Now, at this point, we each had a little bit of a disguise. I had the best disguise because I actually took mine off of a dead guard. Other people just kind of put on black cloaks. But we worked our way up and we found we're in the office of one of the major generals of the Hoard of the Dragons. So, we hear footsteps starting to come down the hallway. Everybody hides except for me because I'm real good at talking to things. I wasn't. I also had the best disguise. That was my thought. I have a good disguise. I can just talk my way through this, and we can solve this thing through diplomacy instead of fighting a big bad. Never try to talk the diplomacy to a big bad unless you're a bard. So she comes in the room, we go back and forth. My DM is having none of this social encounter, and all of a sudden she turns around and calls down the hallway. We hear clanking of metal and shields and realize she just called the guards. So what do? We have the big bad end boss for the dungeon, plus about 15 more guys, 15 more guards that are now going to be coming down the hallway to also get us. So not only are we fighting the biggest, baddest bad guy in the dungeon, we now have minions to worry about. Well, I pull just the move of the century, and I throw up a wall of wood to close the doorway, which didn't have a door otherwise. And we start to hear banging on the other side of the door, letting us know that there was clashing of their swords off of my wall of wood. They were trying to ram their shoulders through it, and we at least had a little bit of time by ourselves. So, action economy being what it is, it was the 5 of us versus the one big bad, and we were able to take her down. Now our HP was starting to get a little bit low, and we were worried about the group that was just now in this same round of combat breaking through the door. So, just as the first guard breaks through, the Kenku, who'd had just enough key points left, points over and casts Darkness. Shadow monks get to cast Darkness for a nice little expense to them, but it's not just regular darkness. We are underground. Things with dark vision could have normally seen, but this is magical darkness. Nobody could see anything. Next in the initiative order was me, and I'm like, I can't see in the darkness, but you know what would be funny? If I threw a couple bags of ball bearings into the darkness. So I grab a pouch of ball bearings and I chuck it into the darkness. Next thing's next. The paladin lines himself up in a straight line with the door, thinking if you're in darkness, you're not just going to try to wander off in a random direction, you're going to head straight through, especially if your boss just called you. And he was right. The rest of us just kind of posted up on the outside and did little extra things to try to funnel everybody towards the paladin. And one by one, through very fortunate rolls, again in our favor, the guards would slip and fall on these ball bearings that I chucked into the darkness. And as they would slip and fall, occasionally they would fall just out of the range of the darkness. The paladin would see them and smite them. Now we have a body here, and the next guy would start to slip on the ball bearings, trip over the body, and the paladin would smite them. So the paladin started to develop his character in this way. He became a headhunter. And he was a vengeance paladin, so that actually ended up being okay. But one by one, 13 guards later, we had taken down all of these and just had this great big pile of dead guys who we, as munchkins, looked through all the pockets and found almost nothing. But we let down the darkness, and on the way out, we're like, oh hey, look, barracks. We could have completely ended this situation before we had gotten there. And we found one sleepy guard who we tied up, threw over our shoulder, and took with us out of the dungeon for questioning. Tune in next time for some more campaign adventures. And until then, yes, I do need one more board game. Thanks for asking.